This is One United Body on July 23rd, 2018. This is Discovery Encounter, and we're going to be encountering first the City of Holiness, then the City of God. A bit of an introduction. 3 strands of DNA for Holy Spirit, our righteousness, peace, and joy. 3 strands of DNA for Jesus, Yeshua, our way, truth, and life. And the 3 strands of DNA for Father are judgment, justice, and holiness. So the City of Holiness is the 9th, the 3rd of 3 cities for Father's DNA, following judgment and justice. And the City of God is at the end of the entire journey. Once you've had an investiture in each of the other cities, which is an initial crowning as well as a coronation, and there's a final coronation in the City of God. Between the City of Holiness and the City of God, there are 3 cities having to do with our body, soul, and spirit. Names that I'm giving them at the current time is One United Body for the body, One New Heart for the soul, and simply One Spirit for the spirit. So we're skipping those 3 cities after Holiness and going directly to the City of God. It's going to be an initial look around for almost all of you, probably. Some of us have been there before. But initial look around. Remind you that there's the process goes like this. There's conception, birth, then you see, and then you receive, and then you seek, enter, and then you finally enter. So for many of you, this is going to be your first real look at this, and it's an opportunity to be able to receive what you see, and then you would then move on to start seeking to enter, which is going to be waiting to the proper time, because there is generally a bit of there's a progression here. It can be jumping around, but there's a progression here. Did you want to add anything to that, Anushka, before you begin facilitating the men?
Oh, no, that's fine.
I should add one thing. When we first started, Anushka saw that Abraham has joined us as a Man in White Linen. And so he's with us here today, and he was the one that said to mention about receiving. So go ahead, Anushka, and then we'll just kind of pass it back and forth as we're led.
Yeah. All right. So we enter in the spirit, one heart, one mind, one in spirit. And we see ourselves standing by faith in front of the City of Holiness. And let's hold hands. Everyone is free to share what they see or what they're perceiving, so that others can step in to your testimony. And let's engage the City of Holiness. Now let's step in. Let's see ourselves entering the City of Holiness.
Just to catch up, we did just enter the city of Holiness. Actually, I shouldn't, we're coming in for a visit in most cases. With the different levels of folks here. Some this is the first visit, some this is a time here already. So each experience in the city according to our own place in the journey. What do you see? What do you sense?
Please share what I saw, because when Anuska said first that we were entering the city, I saw this. I was like, I was entering through a gate, and I saw this road with like cobblestones paved with, not with like real cobblestones, with jewels and stuff. And I saw these torches, like these flames that you could pick up, and it was like I sensed like my heart was as I entered the city, my heart was like a keyhole, and the torch was like a key, and that I just felt I needed to pick up the torch and place it in my heart. It was like the fire of God, the purity of God. It was like what I needed to be here.
Okay.
And I just felt to place it inside the keyhole of my heart.
I caught part of that. I heard you saying you found a torch that you sensed that you need to place in your heart. That was correct?
Yes, I see a row of torches. They're like the entry to the city.
Okay.
The heart's like a keyhole, and the torches are like keys, and it's like the holiness and the purity of God, the fire of God, and I was to place it in my heart.
Okay.
Brenda, just to let you know, your mic is a little muffled, or I don't know if the mic is too close to your mouth, maybe.
Okay, hold on. Better.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Oh, I put my headphones
Good.
on. I forgot I didn't have them on.
That's good.
Well, what I saw when we entered these gates, it was like we were children and we were just holding hands and we're all excited, and it just entering with a childlike faith, just a purity.
Yes, that's what I saw.
I also saw when I entered the city was the cobblestones, and then I saw a whole lot of trees, but it was very peaceful, and we were all joyful to enter in.
Brenda, sweetie, could you repeat what you were saying, please, earlier?
Oh, okay. What I saw the cobblestones, only they were like, gold and jewels, and I saw torches, these bright flames, and I just felt like I was supposed to pick one up, and that my heart was like a keyhole, and it was like I needed to place the flame in my heart. It was like the fire and the purity of God that I wanted to put it in there before I entered in.
Thank you for sharing.
I believe that what I saw kind of dovetails onto what Brenda said, is that as soon as we walked in, it had to do with seeing everything is sparkling. And it reminded me with everything is so sparkling, clean, and pure.
I saw everything in like a golden light, like it would be a torch or something. Everything seemed to be reflecting the golden light.
I agree. I see a golden light. Everything is gold and jewels and shining and brilliant.
Yeah.
The real sense in which this city is is a major step along the journey. I see it as an ending place where righteousness begins on the throne of righteousness way back at the very beginning. Here at the end we have holiness. The two are related, but they're different. It's like this is the end product here in holiness. Very important to spend time in this city and really engage it and let it transform you into being holy.
And Joy says on the chat, very brilliant light.
You know, I keep hearing the word, and I know that we are that, but I just keep hearing the word impartation. And Bill said something about receiving that and becoming that holiness. This is like huge.
Thank you, Brenda. Abraham, just for those that came a little later, Abraham has been is present with us, and he had said to receive. So Brenda's pointing out there's an impartation of holiness to be received here in this place, which you do simply by childlike faith.
I keep seeing oil pouring like a waterfall of golden oil. I saw the gates almost like that, like a waterfall of oil, like moving and living.
When you said about the waterfall, I immediately had desire to be underneath it. Let that oil just flow over me.
I sense as she said that, and since when I saw the flames, it's like not just an impartation, but we're going to be filled up and receive even the oil in our lamps, the fuel and the fire of holiness, the impartation of it. It's now that I say that, I see myself holding a lamp to be filled in the waterfall.
Wonderful.
There's a song that Brenda shared with me quite some time ago, the fire and the oil and the water all together. Not sure the exact words, but I sing it all the time. But that's going through my head.
Oh, that's interesting. There's actually a river, and it's 4 parts to it. Picture how water and oil work in a where the oil would float on top of the water.
Mm-hmm.
You got water with oil on top of that, then you've got the oil in a fire. So there's 3 of the 4, and I'm trying to remember what the 4th part of the river that flows out of us is.
Gold.
Gold underneath at the bottom. Thank you. That was Courtney. I knew it'd be. Courtney's the one that saw this. So this is her revelation that I'm sharing here with you. Yeah.
I've sat in a river with water and oil and fire on it and soaked in it. I don't know. I believe it was around Pentecost, leading up to Pentecost. I don't know if it's the same river, but it seems like we saw gold also.
They can swirl inside of you.
Go ahead,
and then you can release that, pour out. Those things swirl together.
Wow.
Flows out of us, right, Courtney?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm gonna explain it as a frequency, but the frequency it feels like a swirl that's or like a lava that's going on inside of me. And so my as you know, when we got under that waterfall of oil, I felt the frequency start to change. And this kind of lava sensation all over my body come.
It's interesting you say that because the first time I soaked in it was a bit before Pentecost, but right after that, we started hearing of the volcano in Hawaii and the lava, and I wondered if it was kind of associated somehow.
Well, when lava flows from a volcano, it's the beginning of something new, because lava creates islands.
Yeah, it
And
makes like a
yeah,
bedrock.
yeah, exactly. And it does destroy initially, but after that, everything is burned up. It's some of the richest soil that you can get on the earth. And it brings very nutrient dense plants to come about.
Yes.
So it's like a
Yeah.
new beginning, is what I'm saying. It brings forth a new beginning.
I like new beginnings.
Yes. New heavens, new earth, new day.
And I have a sense Isaac is also here with Abraham.
Wow.
Do you have a
And
sense of what he's doing, Patience?
yeah, he's releasing a laughter. And when that laughter comes, it's like it results in a shaking and a rumbling.
Old laughter.
Yes.
There we go.
And it echoes, it's echoing over the whole place. And it's like my whole body is responding to it. My whole being is responding to it.
And volcanoes come from foundational shifts, so things breaking loose.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
There's a place in Scripture where Isaac laughed. I forget. Oh, it was Sarah laughed because of Isaac, the promise of Isaac. It was initially she laughed with unbelief, but then she laughed with belief.
And Isaac's name is laughter.
Yes.
Well, from the beginning, what I was sensing was I was hearing the angels singing "Holy, Holy," but it's just not few angels. What I initially thought was a bright light cloud. When I observed it more carefully, it's actually layers and layers of angels saying "Holy, Holy," and it's just ringing really loud in my ears.
I sensed that as soon as we started Isaiah 6, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Heaven and earth is filled with his glory.
Right. And the aspects of, I was wondering why initially I also saw the black and white flooring that I saw in a City of Holiness before. And then but I was saying, is this same place? But it's a different place, which really reveals the aspects of His holiness. And I also sensing when people are saying the river of gold, Courtney, you're saying that? This river of gold, I actually saw it with the encounter with the city of glory and honor. And it's connected to here too right now. I see all this interconnectedness in different parts of the cities. So I think I have to ask you someday about, is this, okay.
That's a really good point, Grace. There's a flow somehow between the cities, isn't there? I mean, some kind of a
Yes.
yeah.
It's not just the the thrones of different cities are all interconnected through the revolving door in a Metatron's cube. Also, the different aspects of the cities are also in different forms interconnected that I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Yes, Grace. Yeah.
Yeah, they arc with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, in combinations that are very interesting and do relate to scriptural truth, and do change us in specific ways having to do with the arcing between the two cities.
We tend to put them in blocks of 3 for convenience sake and just the way that's been, but it's shifting. And it's like it's a spiral that spins from the connection between them up, if that makes any sense.
Keep going, Courtney.
Almost like a cipher cylinder that would spin into place, and then after it rotates, then you see something new. It's a new aspect of it.
Awesome. Yeah, the 3s are simply for the purposes of understanding and the names of the cities and how they relate to the DNA of each of the 3 persons of the Godhead. But as Courtney points out, the actual structure is spiral. Courtney, counterclockwise or clockwise?
I think it's maybe counter.
That's interesting.
I agree with that, Courtney.
Yeah.
Yes.
So undoing something, actually changing us.
Because
And
I think
also several. Oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
No, I was just thinking about the fire and the laughter and the volcano and what Bill just said about changing us. The fire, when the fire releases, and then and that volcanic matter and it removes all the things that inhibit, and then it flows forth and creates new beginnings like a volcano would, and out of that is birth laughter. But I just see that laughter coming out of that freedom and that impartation that takes place in the eruption of the fire and the volcano, and new things are formed. Like you say, every time you spin it, there's something new, and I just see all these new things being created.
And completely opposite from any self-righteousness of religious holiness.
Yes.
This is a whole different thing, actually involving laughter. I'm just realizing it's totally counter to old wineskin understanding of holiness.
because joy is strength.
Yeah. It's like each of these cities is somehow a sum, or a maybe not even sum, but combination of all the ones that came before, with the addition of one more aspect on top of everything before.
This reminds me of a 3-stranded cord that's not easily broken, the strength of it. And like when you braid a rope, it seems to go counterclockwise.
It's interesting. Counterclockwise is untethering or trading out of, and clockwise is tethering to, connecting to, or trading into. So we're seeing this as counterclockwise, the pattern of the cities. It's bringing us out of something.
Awesome.
Actually, it's probably Babylon.
This is just a thought, and you can tell me if I'm right. Since you said bringing us out of something, we're in the city of holiness. We're moving counterclockwise to bring us out. This is so that we can come in to the city of God.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Also
this is
interesting.
tethered, so we can tether.
Yes. Also, interestingly, the book of Hebrews in chapter 12:14 says, "Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord." So I see that holiness is so important here.
That's good, Anushka. And you know what? I was seeing in the counterclockwise turning, I was seeing going, it's kind of like a return to, although we're being restored back. I mean, better than the original intent. It's an expression of the end meeting the beginning. Also, that's how I see it as well. So, just the spiral sensation. That's how I see it. This counterclockwise turning, where the end is meeting the beginning again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do see this somehow connected to that call to come out of Babylon, because it says, come out of her and be separate. And holiness is separation, counterclockwise separation.
Are we untethering from the religious view of holiness?
Yes, we are. You just framed it.
Is it not when they say before the throne, holy, holy is the Lord? They're not declaring that he was without sin because he never had sin. They're declaring that they're speaking to his completeness. And as we untether from Babylon, we untether from this, we are walking into that, we are coming into that completeness, the same as when they say, holy, holy, holy is the Lord.
Yeah.
Because it's, yes.
Just realizing this is Father, Son, this is Holy Spirit, Jesus, Father. So we actually, we're in the third holy here, right? Because it's holy, holy, holy for three persons, I think, is why that's there. I could be wrong, but if that's the case, we're right there at the end of the DNA for Father with the third holy.
That's interesting that you said that, Bill, because in that this counterclockwise turning, I was sensing that we are turning out of time and into infinity, or into right where we won't die. And I mean, where there's no form or any sense of dying, where we completely are transformed, that almost like that we're on the last iteration of turning. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The three cities of Father, judgment, justice, and holiness, are preceded by immortality. And so actually, before we fully, if you're going to be talking about entering into as opposed to simply visiting here, and this is a visit for most of us, and receiving what we see here and believing to receive. In some cases, though, it's more than that further down the journey with the city. It's not your first time here. But further back on the journey, before you enter into judgment, the city of judgment is a decision that you're not going to die. You're going to step into immortality. And so that's exactly what you're sensing here is the third city in that process of stepping into immortality.
Yes, which is the collective function of all the cities, is to prepare us for this final transformation. I mean, this final push, I guess I could say, into immortality.
Yeah.
And also I'm seeing the connection of the end times, how it is that term we're using from the old wine skin, but really it's a restoration of things. This period that we're in right now, where we're at the end of time, and how everything is being prepared to be fully restored, including us going through this process of being transformed through the cities.
Yeah.
I just saw that whole swirl together.
Wow.
So I just wanted to express that.
Wow.
It's interesting that you said that, Simone, because I had an encounter where I seen what looked like a beach, and I seen that the strip of sand was very less, really less, and almost it looked like so much of it had been washed off.
Mm-hmm.
And what he showed me was that these were the sands of time. And what I said was, what is the end? Because it looked like some type of a mountain formation or a rock formation, where you have the sand and then it ends. You have the whole water, and then you just have a small strip of sand, and then is that formation. And so I wanted to know what was after the sand and what happens when we come to the end of it. And so when I asked him that, it was actually common sense when I asked him. It didn't strike me. It didn't occur to me. And he says, when I said, what is the end of that? And he says, the end of time. And I was like, oh yeah, because that's the sands of time. So I see that we're almost, so what he was showing me was we're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
I agree
good.
with that.
Yeah, that's good, Anushka. And another thing that I was seeing just as you were talking, you remember that we would have had the DNA of God if Adam hadn't fallen. So this process of going through the cities and again is a restoring our DNA back to his. It's all about going back to how things should have been and better. So
The original design. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's just so clear and ringing to me right now. And just even how that's how I got revelation of the cities, is that they literally almost are an expression of the DNA of God. And we're, and it's a literal transformation where we're being turned into the fullness of little gods, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like the end of our little God training is what I call it sometimes, but yeah.
Yes, where we become more like him and we start visiting these cities more often till we actually come into oneness with every aspect of who he is.
Yes.
Where we become one with the aspect of holiness in all the other cities, we need to go through all the cities and we need to start visiting them more often. Where finally we become one with that city and we are that city, because these cities are really platforms that Father has made or structured to take us through. So we actually become one with every aspect of the DNA of the Godhead. So as we do that, then we can say, I am holiness.
Yes.
That's
And there are different combinations to the cities as well. I think someone said that earlier. Because all these cities are aligned. And just like how we have our gates aligned, our spirit, soul, and body gates, and we have them aligned where they can all function through each other. So you get multiple combinations. The same as with the cities.
Yes.
So let's see ourselves walking around the city, even as we engage the gates, as we engage the foundation of the city. And let's walk around and try to perceive what we feel or what we sense is in the city. try to sense who's around us. What the walls of the city look like. For those of us who haven't engaged the river, we can engage the river as well. Water, oil, fire, and gold. And become one with that river. Whatever we engage in the heavenly realms, whatever we drink in, starts flowing out from us. We can just step in and it will start flowing in us, and through us, and even out from us. Because we are an everlasting gate, an everlasting door.
It's about time we move on to the city of God. You can come back here anytime you want to. Once you've been someplace, you just put your intent on it and you end up in that same place again. You can actually even go to someplace you've not been before by intent. And when we were doing the initial discovery of the cities before we even knew the names or what they were at all, you could just go from the most recent city discovered, go up and find the next one and go in and find out what it is. Ask what the name of this place is. So discovery functions in that way. And then what happens is various members of the Ecclesia have experienced encounters and they talk about it and find out that things that they saw were the same thing. And we grow in our confidence that as an Ecclesia that we're have an understanding of a particular place by common experience. But it's always somebody that goes first. There's always a forerunner that goes for the first time. Or forerunning groups like this one going for first time for many of you. You now know that you're welcome in this place. We're now going to move on to the city of God. And again, together we'll move up to the city of God, holding hands. And we're going now to be outside the city of God, where we can see the city. Looking towards the city, engaging it, encountering it. Come on up. We're grabbing some folks by the hand and pulling them up here. And what do you see and sense from outside? What does the city look like from the outside here?
It looks magnificent. I was just standing in awe of the city, and it looks so much more than what I've seen with the other cities. And all I can see is just precious stones glittering as I stand outside the city. Very, very much like a palace, but a huge structure, huge, the size of a city. What do others see as you have a look at what the city looks like on the outside?
See this huge building, and it's like effervescent. It's like it's a pearl and gold.
I feel and sense peace and freedom and joyous, great freedom and liberated, as though you have been liberated, complete liberated.
Yes,
Set
totally.
free.
That freedom really resonated when you said it. It just stood out strongly when you said it.
I see this city in a very high mountain.
Yes, it is raised up. I agree with that, Grace.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
The view is amazing because it's set on such a high mountain. If you are willing to look around and observe, like you can see the whole view to Like you can see everything from this place. There's nothing obstructing. Either you look to the north, south, east, and west.
And I sense very strongly that the breath of God is in the city, as though we have air on the earth. It's the breath of God in the city, and everything is breathing in the city. Even the walls are breathing.
Nelson, I agree with you because I could see this. I could see the gold and the pearls and the precious jewels, but it seems like it's almost like crystalline, like multifaceted, and it's living, breathing, and that you don't have to literally walk through gates. You can walk through it and be in it. It's not like you have to go through a gate. It's like you're part of it. And I see the most unusual thing, and I kept thinking, surely I don't see this. But I see within the walls and see all the crystalline and the facets and the aspects of God. I see like a fireplace burning. And it's just like this flickering fire that just says, come in.
Yes,
You're home.
The more we frequent the city, there is a point in that aspect, that segment of the character that the city represents, a character of God, the maturity of God, begins to breathe within us, being activated within us. So there'll be a point in which we won't have to go out into the city, but rather to go into the city.
And it's also makes you feel as though you were part of it. Like within me, it's like you knit together with it. I don't know if anybody feels that.
I was
Such,
just getting ready
sorry.
to say that it's like you don't have to go into the city because it's part of you. It's like you don't leave it.
Exactly. I seen a
Exactly.
recordatory. Yeah, the word
Yes.
recordatory comes to me. Recordatory, activated memory, a remembrance of
Yes.
that they are our beginnings and eternal beginnings in God before He sent us to the earth. This is very wet into the fiber of our spirit and the spirit of God Himself. It's like an awakening, a clouded remembrance, remembrance. My memory is kicking out like a baby kicking out the womb of the mother and walking, sending signals of life and in preparation to be delivered out of the matrix. The matrix, in this case, we're in the matrix of lack of memory, taken away.
I think we're probably at the place where we can, I was going to say go in, but maybe it's more to sense that we're already a part of it. The fireplace, I believe, spoke about the welcoming. This is home here. This is who we are as a corporate one united body.
I could see the same type of thing Brenda did with the stones, the precious stones that it's built of. And I could look inside and see, and I touched them, and it's like I can feel the pulsating of it, the frequencies, but it's almost like a pulsing, like a heartbeat would be.
I'm sparkling.
Yes.
You said heartbeat, and about
Sparkling.
Yes, it's like a heartbeat.
yeah. You said the word heartbeat just 1 second after I saw. I'm still seeing a heart of the Father beating, and that celestial sound and those endless frequencies of his persona, like tutun, tutun,
Yes.
in such a perfect oneness and harmony, the heart of love, God. It's like God is also excited. God is excited because we, his sons, are coming into fruition. We're coming.
As I touch the wall, I can feel like the pulsing going through my body, like a vein that you can feel pulse. It's like I become one with the wall and the beating of the heart.
Exactly. This is a place of oneness, ultimate oneness.
Yes, because I feel like I'm in the wall. It's like I'm in the walls, like it's like home. I see the fireplace, but it's like a womb. It's like I can't even explain it. It's like it's like being in the river of life where you can breathe underwater and drink and all this. It's like I just touch the wall and just I'm in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Knit with the wall was
Yes.
what I saw. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
I feel
inside of it,
Let's
everything. Yes.
We're like
let's see ourselves.
of this place. Each one of us is feeling like a living stones of this city itself. But at the same time, somehow, like as a lot of people are describing here, that we corporately feel that we are like the city. So there's individually feeling like a living stone, but at the same time, we are also feeling that we are the city.
Mm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Let's
been,
see ourselves
Yes.
becoming one with the city. If
good.
we haven't done that, let's see ourselves becoming one with every aspect of that city, with the walls, with its foundations.
I see the word CPR, as though the heartbeat of the Father is giving us a CPR.
Mm.
CPR to our heart, to syncopate with the heart of the Father.
Receive that. Yeah, go ahead and receive that. Connect with that.
You can stretch out on the wall like a skin.
I got that too, Courtney. I got that same thing. That's what I'm doing.
And it's like a drum. The frequency, the heart beating, it you become one with it, and then it resonates, echoes outward.
Yeah, see, like we're arriving to a place of no return to the same that we came from.
I heard the word enlargement.
I actually experienced the wall as fur. In my parents' basement, they have a great big wall hanging that my mom's parents brought in from their travels somewhere because they used to travel the world, and it's a llama picture in fur. It's all done in llama fur, and it's sort of dark on white fur, and it's just a picture of a llama, and it's the most sumptuous fur to snuggle into. And I when I was younger, I do that sometimes, and they still have it. And I saw that fur wall hanging, and I just snuggled right in.
You're experiencing fraud as well. That's what you're experiencing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I sense, and I kept wondering why I didn't really see rooms or how, or that kind of thing. It's like the whole city there's walls, but there's not walls. And I kept thinking, why am I hearing this heartbeat? And then as I walked deeper and deeper into these walls and deeper, it's almost like this whole city was in the heart. The whole heart, I felt like I was in this whole heart beating. And then I could just continuously walk through to the depths of it. Always not walking from room to room, but walking in it.
Wow, that's amazing. I just wondering if you or other people also sensing that not only we're becoming one with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit here, we're also I'm also feeling the heartbeats and other men in white linen. I'm not saying it's one or two, many men in white linen, to the point that I think it's just with all of them, we're becoming one here.
I would confirm that. Yeah, yeah. They're all available.
Yes, I saw them earlier. I just I couldn't discern who was here in particular, but I sensed that they were everywhere they're within the walls, they're within the heart, they're within the beat, they're everywhere.
When we first started this, I've been here before, but I didn't know that that's where this was. But I went down into my heart for a little while now. Been having encounters. We're getting smaller and smaller, and it was often, we go upward to cities, but this one was a down into the heart through the door and then upward. It was different today or this evening.
In this place, we don't see walls because there are no walls around the heart of the Father.
Yeah, it's a living, breathing membrane. Yeah.
Courtney, bluish. So I was getting like amethyst, variations of colors of blue crystals, shifting between clear white to bluish and dark blue.
You know, the thought is coming to me, is this city literally his heart?
That's what I was wondering, because I felt like it was in the heart, but maybe the heart.
Yeah, that's what's coming to me too. And the reason why we're in the walls is because that they are the walls of the heart. They're literally the heart. That's what I was.
Scripture that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So who we really are is our heart. And
The membrane.
Yeah. Who
the membrane is the wall or the walls of the heart.
Wow.
Then if who we are in our heart is who we really are, then we would be in the heart of God, who is who he really is.
Yes.
Yeah, this is both who he really is and both who we really are.
And that would explain why in this previous encounter, after stepping into these walls, and I literally vibrated for days, just thinking about it, and then the frequencies would start back. But I was able to start stretching over situations like the Incredibles and bring the membrane over situations.
Oh my goodness.
And that would
to
be
answer your question.
bringing that into his heart, covering it with his heart.
That's so connected to restoration of all things, because we cannot be part of restoration of all things unless we can have everything that needs to be restored into our heart as we're in his heart.
Yeah, which is a complete restoration of our DNA here in this place. And also to answer your question, Bill, what you were asking earlier about the color of the stones
Yes.
is the way I saw it was that it was all multicolored. So it was not just one particular color, but the colors would transcend and it would change somehow, not like the stones that we see, not like how we see on earth, stones per se. They're living and it's moving, and even the colors keep changing.
Okay. Explains why.
Yes, Joyce says living colors.
Yeah. Okay. Explains why I was seeing different colors, but all of them
Yes.
were in white to blue range for me. Different colors of blue, which was probably personal message here, revelation of some kind.
I agree.
Thank you, Anushka.
Yep. So you would actually see multiple colors. So some may see purple, some may see green, because it's constantly changing with those colors. So we are seeing what we are seeing. And even if someone says, we've seen green and you've seen purple, we are seeing all of it together because those colors are actually morphing and changing continuously.
Mm.
That's part of the sparkling that I was describing. And when I was seeing sparkling when people were seeing heartbeats, but the way a prism works is a ray hits and then bounces, so it's a boom boom motion to it, and it's like the prism would tilt, and then it would come in one color, and then it would sparkle and release all the color. Yes.
So this is the question that's coming to me then. In that we were counterclockwise turning back to the was, if you will. Is this that we're seeing now, the fact that we're in the heart, saying that back in the was, that's what the was, they were in him, they were in his heart.
Wouldn't this somehow be also was and up to the present as well? Somehow we are in our fullness of what we're meant to be, but not just having to go back to the was to be that. I think we're in that fullness now too.
Yes. And then I was thinking too, how it all started in the garden. So this is another form of being in his heart, is being in this city. I was thinking,
Yes.
yeah.
And is this place also what scripture calls the womb of the morning? I was just wondering. The dawn of a new day as such, but not day the way we see time. And because things birth in our heart, and so I see that this could also be the womb of the morning, what scripture talks of.
I also felt that this is the impartation of the restoration that Abram is imparting to us.
Thank you, Andrew, for focusing us on that. So yes, we've been told by Abraham to receive, and so Andrew's seeing that there's impartation of restoration of all things to receive here in this place while we're here. Others
Bill,
receive
as you
other
said
things.
that, I thought I saw him earlier as we were talking about the cloud of witnesses, just walking through and touching each person.
I've been receiving the whole time we're here. My head is literally spinning like a top. I'm just sitting here physically spinning. And so it's like every pore of our body that the prisms that I was seeing, it looked like my whole body just became little floating prisms, like the mirror ball. But it wasn't just reflecting, it was absorbing and then releasing as dispersed color.
Yeah, I can see a connection with restoration. The ultimate restoration is in the heart of the Father, because as the beginning, so shall the end be. So that thread that you spin counterclockwise is not going forward; it's going backward. And when I see Abraham is a type of a father, like a sign indicating back to the Father. And the ultimate restoration is found in the Father, in the completion of the cycle of 360 degrees, in which as the beginning, so shall our end, the end of our enterprising and maturity, so on and so forth.
And I think this that we're to receive from Abraham, another way to express it is that we are one with the Father because we are in his heart.
Yes, yes. And I'm also seeing that Abraham had a chance to step in the Father's heart when he was asked to give up Isaac, his laughter. He had the opportunity to step in the Father's heart and become the Father, like the Father would give us his only Son. So he's here to help us experience the same thing, that even as we have become the heart of the Father has become our heart, just as he had the same experience.
Been seeing a rope. I think it's talking about tethering to this place, connecting. I'm also seeing a very, very steep incline, so I have a sense of acceleration here that's available as well.
Can I ask a question? I think it was Courtney was talking about as she was receiving this, it was vibrating out. She was not just receiving, she was releasing. So the thought came to me as we're here and we're receiving from Abraham, we're receiving, and he was willing to give up Isaac, his laughter. But in the end, his descendants were greater than the stars, the grains of sand. Is there not also a promise here that as we do this, that as she was saying, that we release that we're not only just receiving, we're becoming the heart in the sense that we are a gate or a release to the body of that promise, that we can receive that promise Abraham received as well, as we receive and give in the heart of the Father.
That's good.
There's definitely a continual flow here. My head has not stopped spinning since we started this, and it's going counterclockwise, and it's in a flow. It's a release and receive, release and receive.
Should we go ahead and do that? Should we open ourselves also as gates and release this to the Ecclesia as a governmental act? Can we see ourselves doing that?
Yes and amen.
Yes.
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 I'm like a windmill right now. Oh, that's what I've been seeing. Do you know how a windmill has little flat pieces around the outer circle, and they catch the wind, but they can also catch light and glisten? Thank you. Now my head stopped spinning. Thank you. I'm glad I got this. My neck was getting sore. Anyway, it's a windmill. A windmill is a generator. And it goes around and around. It receives the wind and it releases energy. I'm not exactly sure why this is. Okay, I'm spinning again. I apologize for being so drunk, folks, but I really am. This, yeah, a windmill takes the wind and it creates, it releases, it empowers.
But Courtney, that's the same thing our heart does. Our heart receives and then release.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that the very function of beating, the heart beating?
That's it. It receives
Yes.
and releases it. Pumps
Yes.
the blood out to the other
Yes.
parts of the body.
Yes.
So the heart is a receiver and a giver. This is what Abraham
Yes.
was. This is what the Father is. This is what we are.
Yes.
This is really good. I'm glad this came up because one of the things I've been thinking about recently is the need to learn how to rule or function in each of these cities. In each city, there's going to be a function, and we've just been led into function in the city and how to function here, and that's really good. I'm so glad.
All right, so let's see ourselves as one, and we'll do a governmental act to release this and to open this up for the entire body of Christ.
Anushka,
Yes.
can we open ourselves up to receive first and then to release? So that
Yeah.
it's like a cycle.
I thought that when we were really one and we became one with the city and one with the walls and the foundations, I felt that we are receiving and we are absorbing. What do you all feel?
Yes, I think that's right. But what I'm saying is that when we are doing the governmental act, can we combine the two?
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Andrew, sorry, were you saying something?
I also felt that we were receiving from the wall, and then I saw us like a electricity going into the ecclesia, and it was actually sparking people. So they were receiving like a spark in their life.
Which
I
would
see
be
that.
Courtney's sparklers, which would be her all that sparkling that she saw.
Thank you to both of you all. Yeah, thank you. That was kind of a loose wire there. Thank you for plugging that in, both of you.
All right, so let's see ourselves. If we haven't already, let's see ourselves becoming one with the city, with its foundations, with its walls, becoming one with the heart of the Father. We see ourselves resonating with the heart of the Father, in beat with His heart, in tune rather with His heart. And resonance is where we actually lower frequencies start vibrating at higher frequencies. So we see ourselves no longer offbeat, but vibrating with the vibration of the Father from this moment onwards, in perfect alignment with His vibration, with His sound, with His frequency, with every aspect of His being. We say yes to that alignment here, because what I see is this is alignment with that vibration, with that frequency that we shall carry in every dimension, in every realm, even on the face of the earth, where we carry the frequency and the vibration of the Godhead. Perfect harmony. And we receive all of this. We see doors and let's imagine them as doors, and we opening it up to ourselves. All of this, everything that the city has, everything and much more. More that we will discover more that we will discover. But we say yes to it. Yes to it all, the whole city. And on the count of 3, we just open all of the city. We unlock it. Everything, all that we will discover as well in the future. On the count of 3, we just open this whole city up to ourselves. And we receive all of it. 1, 2, and 3. We see them like double doors, and we open those doors towards ourselves. And let's receive.
I opened up my heart like the double doors and then put it upon the double doors of the city and connected the two. If that makes any sense.
Or did you say you opened the doors of your heart and connected it with the doors of the city?
Yes. You know, when you see a door frame, it has 2 sides to the door. I've been seeing that for a while now. And so I connected my double doors of my heart to the double doors of the city.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, we could see ourselves doing that, coming into alignment with those doors, and placing the doors of our hearts, making it one with the doors of the city.
And I'm seeing the whole city gets into me and closes up. And I become the city and the city becomes me.
Yes.
Like a pregnant woman, you know something is in you, yet it is you.
Yeah, a treasure stored up was what I got even before you said that, Patience. I was just thinking, wow, all this treasure in our heart. Yeah. And let's see ourselves releasing this to the Ecclesia. On the count of 3, we'll open the doors, but outward. We'll push them open. We also can release a call to come up here into the city of God. So at the count of 3, we push the doors outward. 1, 2, and 3. And we push the double doors outward to the Ecclesia. And we release a call in the Spirit to come up here. And we even release angels through us as gifts to help and bring people up here, to remove the obstacles that are blocking them from visiting these cities.
This may be redundant, but I'm still seeing the windmill.
Do you feel there's something that needs to be done with the windmill, Courtney?
I was seeing each of us as a windmill. And, you know, Bill, you were
Yeah.
talking about learning how to rule in each city. When you said that, I was thinking, you know, a windmill just flows. It doesn't, it's just there. And it just is open and it just spins in the wind. But in doing that flowing, it creates and generates. It doesn't strive. And it's very peaceful.
Mm, mm. And
You
what
know,
I'm
which, oh,
seeing
go
is
ahead. Go ahead, Paige.
that so far as there is wind, the windmill is working, and the wind is the spirit. So far as there's wind blowing, the windmill is working. So far as we are in the spirit and allows the flow, as windmills, we are also producing, working.
I would just add to that. I don't know if you guys have ever driven through a wind farm, but in my place of the world, in my province, it's the prairies. So everything is super flat, and there is almost no change in, like, there's almost not even a little bit of a hill. So it's very, very flat. And so you can see really, really far. And it's very monotonous. You almost don't see anything. It's just fields everywhere. And there's fields that are for crops, but then there's fields that have these great big windmills, and they're not like old-fashioned Dutch kind of old wooden structures. They are very powerful. They're very, very, very tall. I would say probably, oh, I don't know, maybe 12 stories high or so, like for a building, like very tall. And they're metal, and they're circular. The whole thing is a circular base, and it's sort of like a very simple structure of a tree, with the stalk, or the main trunk, and then at the very top is basically a small propeller head, and then these great big blades, usually 4 of them, I believe, or 2 or 4, one or the other. It's been a while since I've really seen them myself, but when you drive past them, the vibration is something that you can really feel, and it's not a sound exactly, but you can just sort of feel it. And when you see the field, there's so many of them. So one thing I think of often in that imagery, because it's something that I've thought of before too, is just that sense of each individual windmill is really powerful, but it's most, you're able to gather the most power when every windmill is working with the same stream of wind, and there's many of them. So it's sort of that sense of unity too, where it's not just the one windmill, but it's many.
What was coming to me about the windmill is that, like Courtney said, it's a generator, but I feel like it's a connection perhaps with Melchizedek, and this generator is a resource, a form of resource to, as a continuous flow from this place. And so that it can be a supply to the Ecclesia, and that we're acting as windmills. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, that resonates.
Yes.
Can I ask a question then? If in reference to what Anushka said about visiting the other cities as much as possible. And I kept thinking about the windmill and seeing each blade as like a representation of each city, culminating in where we are right now in the heart of the Father. And that the more that we visit and the more that we participate and function in each city, then the more wind there is to move, and we move from this place. It's like, since they all interconnect and they all, you know, interconnect and interact with each other, I was just seeing the blades as that, because I kept seeing, as we were talking about what we were releasing, I said, well, I can see where some cases Eden would need to be released and where New Jerusalem would need to be released, because the Ecclesia in general is at different places.
Mm.
And I could just see this windmill as a culmination of all those things. And the more we visit and the more we function, we give, and the more we realize where we're seated actually in the city of God, in the heart of the Father, then we release all of that.
Yeah, I think you're correct in the sense that it's almost like all the cities are in this one place now. You're going to have one throne, and on that one throne, you can rule in all these places simultaneously. But there is a sense in which each city has a particular purpose or function. For example, New Jerusalem is truth, or Zion is life, or holiness is holiness. And then there's that next sense that we're getting into now. What's the function in that place? How does that, what do you do there spiritually? We learned how to function here and to function in each of those cities, and you get that by encountering them and sitting down on the thrones in those places and finding out what it means to rule with respect to truth or life or holiness or whatever.
Well, that's interesting, because out of what Brenda said, it's, I wonder, and I think we will just have to in the future engage this, if the city of God is functioning like how Mount Zion was. You know how Mount Zion was over all the mountains. And once you got up on Mount Zion, you could rule over any of the other 49 mountains. So I wonder if there's a parallel here with the city of God, where once you get into the city of God, you can function. Well, at that point, I guess you are functioning out of all of the cities.
Yeah.
That,
I mean,
yes, I see that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the possibility of not having to go through the entire progression from city to city. That there's the possibility that you could actually just enter in here, and that would be all that's needed. That's that possibility. But the flip side of that is that we really need to learn to function in all the different functions as well.
yeah.
Yes, individually.
Yeah. But I am
Yeah.
seeing that possibility, that the acceleration and other encounters. Remember, we sensed about bringing people to the top of the wall by pulling them up. I have this possibility in my heart that we may just actually be pulling people directly into this place without them having to do the whole journey that we did. Just that possibility, I allow for that.
Yeah, because when Simone was talking about Melchizedek, I absolutely felt that we were connected to the treasury room in the city of Salem, as well as when Anushka was talking about harmony, like observing harmony and so on. I actually felt the city of Eden interconnectedness here. So when Brenda was saying about interconnectedness, it's not all, there is the element of, like from the city of holiness too, there's an element of aspects of the cities are so interconnected. I think people can be experiencing in a different ways. But when we are just focusing on one area at a time, then we can absolutely just focus on that aspect of our God in much more focused way.
Yeah.
As we know how to function in that aspect of God well, it's a good discipline, and also becoming like Him in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard the term earlier, apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And you know, an apprentice is on the job training.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's beginning to make more sense. You know, you can spend a lot of time in the classroom learning to do something before you ever step into doing it. but then there's also apprenticeships where you learn while you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just aware that for folks that you may not have done all that much of the city journey, but here you've had the advantage of having encountered the end of the journey before you've even really done too much with it. And that's an advantage that those of us that have come up through each city one at a time did not have. And so I allow for the possibility that your journey may be different than ours in some way. So if you're encountering something very special here and you feel really connected to this place, just go with it, and let it flow and find out what it does, how it functions here. By the way, some of you came a little late, so I'm just extending a hand down to you and pulling you up into this place if you haven't yet been able to experience that. Just pull you right in so that you can engage us in the last few minutes we have here together on this city today. But I'm just struck with so many folks having a different journey.
You know what? When you said I'm pulling you up into this place, I felt it in my left arm. It's like you were touching, or like you were grabbing my hand, or I didn't feel it on my hand, but right at the sort of almost the socket of where my arm meets my chest. It's like right there. I felt it, like my muscle was really used to really just hoist myself up with you. That was really cool.
Thank you, Lord. So pulling you right into this place.
Yeah, amen.
We've seen in other encounters that from this place, one of the functions we have is that once you've actually had a crowning or a coronation here, you can take and just pull other people in. We saw it like the obstacle course with that wall that takes 3 people to stand on their shoulders to get the 3rd or 4th person over the top, on the top to pull the rest of them up on. It's like that here in the city of God. And that's another function that we have here is we pull people up and in.
Okay.
Frankly, I didn't want to say in the beginning, but I'm amazed that the people can just come right into this place and discover at this level at the very beginning, and there's no hindrance to it whatsoever.
That's so interesting that you're saying that, Bill. You know why? Because I saw myself as a huge water slide, and people were just riding on me.
There you go.
And so I think that's awesome. It is amazing. I agree with you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's amazing. That was a question I had in the back of my mind before we started. Are we going to be able to facilitate all these folks into the city of God? Or do they have to go up to them one at a time or get close to it before they can come this far? And the answer is yes, you can facilitate them right into an encounter, and you just did that. You're forerunning something here, by the way.
Yeah.
Remember the parable of the
place without having to go through all the steps to be able to visit here. We who foreran before you did not have this experience. Some of us did. Some of the seer folks amongst us have been here and didn't know they were where it was that they were. But I'm amazed. And I'm really. This is wonderful. Please remember this, because there's nothing holding you from bringing other people into exploring this place as well.
Yes.
No hindrance.
I wanted to remind you, Bill, that you saw in the beginning the cliff of acceleration.
Yeah.
Yes. And Bill, what I'm hearing is all you need to do is to answer to come up here.
Come up here.
That's all you need.
Yes.
Have a passion, a passionate desire, and then answer, come up here. He will take you beyond your wildest dream.
Yeah.
This is also another tool on your, a weapon on your tool belt, in that you can step into that wall, into that skin at any time. And you just resonate. Like I said, you can stretch over people, you can stretch over situations, you can stretch over continents. Just however, don't limit your stretchability. into whatever you step into, just and then you just resonate like a timpani drum.
Whoa.
Wow.
Ho, eh.
I felt
Ho. Ah, that's amazing.
By the way, Robin, you weren't here at the point at which we discovered that we were being invited to laugh in this place.
Really?
Isaac is laughter, and Isaac
Ah.
is men in white linen here, and you are experiencing the laughter of anybody. Yes.
That's so good.
Yes. For future exploration, all of us, as a corporate group, when we're here together in any city, make sure you take time to ask the other folks that are with you, what are you experiencing here as far as how do you function? Because you'll probably find that there's a couple folks in the group that are functioning here. And as soon as they share how they function with the rest of us, then all of us can step into it as a door and we can all function in that way. And very important, every time you visit, if that's not being facilitated, you can ask the question, is anybody experiencing how to function here? How to
Right.
how to be here? What are you doing here? I want to do the same thing.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Can I
and
share something about the function of the City of Holiness then?
please go ahead, Brenda.
Okay, when I was there, we were in the river of fire and the water and the gold and all that. I was kind of taken to, like, here we have this place called Schlitterbahn. I know some people have heard it, but it has an endless river where you just go round and round. Has things that you go under and all this kind of stuff. And as I was in this river, I was wondering, I could see all these vines and things hanging on the walls in the City of Holiness, and they had different kinds of flowers and things that I hadn't seen, and herbs and things like that. And as I went through, I just picked them. And I realized that when I went up to the City of God, that I still had them with me. And it was like whatever these were that were hanging on the walls in the City of Holiness, they were to release and to give. They were almost medicinal in nature, and that I could release them and they would penetrate or minister to the areas in people's hearts, or their, all you who are weary and heavy laden. They would minister those and be able to free them to come and answer the call into holiness. And we left the city, so I still had them with me when we got to the City of God. And I just, as we were talking about the windmill, I just released them because I didn't have time to release them from the City of Holiness.
Yeah, fragrance.
I see that, Brenda, what you were talking about, what I see, they look like wines. And so what came to me was where Jesus says that we are the wine. Together with him, we are the wine. And the Father is the gardener.
When you were sharing that, I was stepping into it and on the raft and picking from the vines as you were describing, and I ate them.
Yes.
I'm like
yes.
The 2-year-old who puts everything in their mouth that they find, I guess. But I ate them because I want to be able to release it as fruit.
Yes. Yes.
So there's some pointers on the interactivity of these encounters, that you actually can experience things and gather things and do things and even bring them from one city to the next. There is a lot to be discovered in all these cities and to be shared with others, and just a wealth of encounters still ahead of us here.
Yeah,
so that was
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to touch on what Brenda was saying, because even as Brenda shared, I saw those wines, and it's so amazing where when we are in the City of Holiness, we can say, I am holiness. So we no longer see ourselves just as branches, but now we are like Jesus, where we are the wine. Just like he says, I am holy. We can say, I am holy. And now we are the one because we're one with him. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah. As you're saying that, Anushka, you know how the Father introduced himself to, I forget who it was in the Bible, and he said, I am. And I feel that now that we're in the city of God, we can say, I am.
Yeah.
Because we're one with him. Now that you can't say that in church, but
Amen.
Are you talking about Simone where he says, I am who I am?
Right, exactly. And we can say I am now also, yes, we are holiness, but really we're everything now. We'll be everything once we, well, actually now, because we're in the city of God, we are too, you know what I'm saying? We're just really powerful. That's off the charts powerful. And then I just wanted to capture, and I think Nelson was about to say it, so I just want to honor Nelson in that this, I think, is the ultimate reflection of that parable of the workers. How there were workers that worked all day and they got one wage, but then there were some that came at the end and they got paid the same. This that's manifested here in that some people are even experiencing the city of God for the first time today, and it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And that's really amazing. I'm awed at the Lord.
And Simone, some have not even gone through all the cities like we have, and we all get to experience the same thing. And I'm thinking this is a perfect example of there are no highs and there are no lows, and no low use and high highs and low use. We are equal priests. We are all equal priests.
Yes. I totally agree. And
all joints supply. Every joint supplies. So we honor each one of you.
Yes.
We stand shoulder to shoulder.
That's it. One body, one united body. That's what we are.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I agree.
One windmill.
Huh.
That's it. We need each other.
Yes.
I can't produce what I have to produce without you.
That's
Neither
right.
can you without me.
That's right. Yes.
We are our brothers' keepers and lovers. Keepers and lovers.
When a windmill is missing a blade, it doesn't move smoothly. It all has to be in place. It's like
hallelujah. That's it.
That's true.
Amen.
And
what a beautiful city. What a beautiful city of unity. A beautiful city of unity. Oneness.
Yes.
In the heart of God together as one heart.
Yes.
Yeah. It makes me really grateful to what the Godhead did, because I see that they did that for us so that we could be with them. And here we are doing it for those that are coming behind us. And it's also that we could be one with him. It's just really beautiful. I'm grateful to the Lord. It's
beautiful.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yes.
The city of God. I love it.
And even when we're taking, I just wanted to add here, just wanted to reiterate this, even as we are leading people or facilitating people to different cities, the other cities then is not a priority that they have to visit or we have to do it in a particular order. Because I don't think that we did it in a particular order either with the cities, or we feel that maybe they shouldn't enter this city or they shouldn't enter that. They can visit any city anytime. And we want to ensure that we don't disqualify people or that they don't disqualify themselves to actually get into the cities. They can visit the city anytime, but getting an investiture or a coronation again is up to their own personal journey, I see.
I also want to add something about what Simone said. with the parable of the workers all getting paid the same, even the last person who had just barely come in for the last hour of the day. I think that is just a really sort of essential thing I'm looking at right now as I am processing through what it's like to pray for people who are not saved yet, and what does it mean to come to Christ, and what does it mean for somebody who has never lived for God a day in their life to be invited into everything we are familiar with, and that sort of old hat to us, or whatever you want to call it. We've been there for 7 or 8 hours already, and we're getting paid with all these amazing revelations. And I'm starting to see certain ways that God is showing me that even people who are not saved yet, it's sort of like, who was it? I think it was Eric Ratchell talking about your future self behind the wall of eternity that knows your scroll and agreed to your scroll. Working with somebody who isn't saved inside of time and inviting them into these cities and actually seeing them enter in some different levels of revelation, whereas inside of time they're not actually agreeing with the Lord yet. I'm thinking of my brother right now as one person, but I think one element of that is learning to, as you just said, not disqualify anybody, where somebody who, like with my brother, he came to Christ at a very young age, maybe I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, and yet probably since about the age of 13 would never ever have claimed Christ or would want to know anything about church. For me, looking at somebody in his position, being able to not disqualify him from what I know, learning how to love him instead of learning how to be the religious person. You're supposed to do this, you're supposed to go to church, or you're supposed to do that. Learning how to love is just so crucial to everything, I think. And what you were saying about one united body is so true. And that sense of, even my brother who has not lived for God and doesn't have the slightest hot clue about seeing in the Spirit, I really get this sense that he's going to discover the life that we know, and he may not need to do all of the contending that I have done. He may not have anything to contend for because there's been somebody going ahead of him, in my case me, but it sort of pulls in that whole, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Yeah, I just feel like we are at this tipping point, honestly. Just every time I go out in my city, everywhere, it's just a place of extremes, and that sense of the life of God and the not life of God getting darker, and the life of God getting brighter, and how important it is for those of us who have the life of God to just learn, always be open to learning new ways to pour out on the earth. You know, even the image of that flashlight, I think it was Simone who mentioned it once, just happened to randomly find a note where I'd written down, remember your flashlight. Hadn't thought about it for months, totally forgot about it, and remembered the tool, right? And so it's remembering your tools, remembering what's on your tool belt, and using them in a way where you get proficient and are still able to do the new thing as you're led, and not getting stuck in the old and whatever. Don't want to talk too much, but like, yeah, it's that tipping point of like the worker who came, who I feel like we're at that place in the parable where the worker who was hired for the last hour, where he's just been hired.
Yeah.
And we're about to see what the church does with that revelation, where we're about to see what happens when the people who are in churches notice that God is doing miracles, maybe even through people who don't know Christ or don't know they know him, right? Like, nobody has a total 100% lack of the Spirit of God. We have to get this through our head, that there isn't a person on earth that does not have God's Spirit in them on some level. They may not be going to heaven when they die if they have not accepted Christ, but the definition of accepted Christ, I feel like there is so much just Hebrews 8:11 to 12, and that sense of we're at that place where even the bar on the street, where it's not a church, it is a church. It's yeah.
Somehow the oneness in this place extends even to there. I think what you're saying is the boundaries that we've placed, the limitations that we've placed, the things that we thought that we couldn't do for the unsaved, or even seeing them as being a different category than us.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Something going on here that some of the walls are coming down. There's more possibilities than we thought there were. And it's going to be an easier harvest than we thought it was going to be. And
Yes, yes.
somehow it's going to be accelerated. And so be open for functioning here in this place in ways that you did not expect.
Yeah.
And then pass it along to the rest of us, because there's so much acceleration, so much possibility. Nothing's impossible here in this place. And
Yes, Bill.
somehow all is all.
Yes.
You know, and yeah. We're going to wrap it up at this point. I'm going to turn the recording off, but you've got this to continue to experience, and you've been here. You can be here as much as you want to, and a lot of boundaries are coming down, and there's nothing impossible. So I'm turning the recording off here.
I think this is a major key strategy in the 144,000 and the harvest,
Yes.
as everybody's already alluded to. And I think we're going to be shown how to use this to help just bring in the harvest in such a rapid way.
Yes.
And you know, a nation saved in the day comes to mind. This is, you talk about evangelism. This is evangelism on steroids. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to join Courtney. I'm going to join Courtney in being an incredible.
There you go.
I was just reflecting on that. You know how we say when we want to stretch, pray for someone, we say, you know, take them in your heart. That has a whole new meaning right now.
Yes.
Because we can now stretch over so much. But in the past, maybe a little bit's been something, well, just take them in your heart, and then, actually I did this today, and then go before the Father, and I was presenting. But the fact that we have a new understanding of his heart right now has greatly broadened the possibilities of keeping someone in your heart.
You could actually wrap the entire world in God's heart once you've got, as long as you don't let anything get in the way of your faith. It's possible to wrap the entire world in his heart, or all of creation in his heart, for restoration of all things. And I'm going to turn the recording off right now.